Donald Trump is bringing on the former CIA director under President Bill Clinton to serve as a new senior advisor to his campaign. In fact, the Trump campaign announced today it's hiring Ambassador James Woosley. He led the CIA from 1993 to 95. This comes after two former top intelligence officials blasted Donald Trump over his praise for Russians Vladimir Putin. The Washington Post published an open letter from the former CIA acting director Michael Morell and Mike Vickers, the former Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. They tell us that Trump is, quote, the last foreign leader, or that Putin is the last foreign leader you should be praising. Trump has pointed out that Putin has an approval rating of 82% in Russia, a number which is worth basically nothing. But Morell and Vickers write, quote, he has the popularity that you so admire only because he determines what the Russian people hear about him and his government. And they ask, quote, do you support Putin's violation of Russian law that his training of the civil rights of his populace explicitly protected in the Russian Constitution? Anyway, Morell and Vickers each served in both Democratic and Republican administrations, and both have endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. Then there's the Wall Street Journal, which has a detailed look at the candidates' positions on Russia and other foreign policy issues. It's a really interesting piece out by Damian Paletta, and is really easy to find on their website or on their app. If you don't have their app, you should get it. It's really good. Very good. But you can scroll down from this thing and jump to any topic you want. Russia, China, Europe, immigration, Iraq, Iran, ISIS. Now, this isn't an opinion piece at all. This is the facts about what the candidates have said and the facts from their position papers. And for anybody who's seriously interested in their thoughts and their campaign statements on Israel, Muslims, NATO, North Korea, whatever it is, it's all here. You just click on it and it takes you specifically to those matters. So if it's something about which you have specific interest, the Wall Street Journal has it all laid out. They're corporate cousins of ours, but I wouldn't be saying it if it weren't true. This is good. Glenn Hall is the U.S. editor of the Wall Street Journal. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
But this sort of back and forth with foreign policy insiders on who's doing well and who's not doing well is a fascinating thing to see play out.
And this is one of the first major defections we've seen going in the other direction, right? So somebody who was a CIA director during Bill Clinton's term as president, now endorsing Donald Trump, the Republican.
Because I saw him on with Berman and Baldwin over on CNN a couple of hours ago, and he said everything but I endorse him, and Berman was like, well, but you just endorsed him, which I guess he did. It's all semantics there, right?
I think it is semantics. When you say you're going to be an advisor to him and you appreciate his positions on defense and you don't agree with Hillary Clinton's positions on defense, well, you can read between the lines if you want, but it sounds like he believes Donald Trump is the guy he wants in the White House because he's going to put his advice behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he is a paid advisor, right?
I don't know the relationship exactly, but he's signed on to be an advisor to the Trump campaign on issues of defense, national security, and all of those kinds of matters that he's an expert in. And
this back and forth with experts who think you're doing well versus experts who think you're doing well, is that old-time politics, or is this a sort of a new phenomenon?
Well, the newness in this one, Shep, is that you don't know which side anybody is on anymore, right. That these two campaigns are drawing, different defectors in different directions. It's a state of play that we haven't seen in a long time in politics.
I want to let our viewers know this is something we hadn't expected. Tim Kaine, right this second, is taking questions on Hillary Clinton's health. This is the VP nominee. Listen.
That wasn't easy. I did these other things. Maybe I can manage this, and so I've got it, but I'm going to power through. That was her way. I'm going to power through. I mean, some of you were with me at Labor Day last weekend. You saw when she was on stage and had that coughing fit. She was like, "No, I'm doing this." There wasn't somebody else take the mic, or no, I'm doing this. And then she did an event later in the day, flew to Illinois, or I guess it was Iowa, Quad Cities, and did an event there that she did, and she did fine. That's kind of what she was up to. So I'm sure on Friday she said, okay, I think I can manage this. And I think the campaign said, in retrospect, we might do that one differently. But I think they made it plain pretty quickly yesterday in a timely way, in a way that I think was appropriate.
Were you helping her strategize?
I don't want to talk about her and my conversations, the content of them, except just to say that I reached out to her as soon as the incident happened on Sunday, as soon as I was aware of it. I was kind of buried sadly in my briefing memos and didn't know of it right away, but I reached out to her as soon as I knew, which was pretty quickly after it, and she was extremely responsive right away, and again, kind of going back and forth, and even kidding me a little bit because I have unpleasant, I've had a day that may not be so pleasant, but you're having an unpleasant one too. She was kind of giving me trouble in that way.
No, on Friday.
I can just say I'm not going to get into the content, but we talked yesterday after the incident.
But you mentioned your conversations with her. How often are you in contact with her throughout the campaign? Can you characterize your relationship with her?
Yeah, it is.
Should we talk about this now, or
warm
stay with it?
And friendly and communicative relationship. And I think anytime I need to talk to her, I do, and we talk immediately. And sometimes it's one-on-one, and sometimes it's as part of a larger group.
The producers, do we talk about this now, or do we get, because the underlying thing here is it's the secrecy. The conspiracy theorists had been out, and people have been needling her for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, Glenn, saying, health, health, health. Then all of a sudden she stumbles and everything on Sunday, and then tells us on Friday she got diagnosed with pneumonia. Then why the hell didn't you tell somebody?
It
just seems like it's been such an easy thing to avoid, and yet no transparency.
I think that's it, and they don't seem to be aware of how this looks and how this feels on the outside of that. She was trying to power through, perhaps. That's all good, but she could have told everybody up front, look, hey, I got a little bit of pneumonia, I'm fine, I'm going to push through.
And then, there's a pool reporter who follows these presidential candidates. Once you are the nominee, they follow you as if you are the president, almost.
Right.
And there's one person, one crew assigned at every minute of every day to be aware of your positioning. And those campaigns are, by the rules, required to tell these people where you are and what you're doing. And they didn't. They kept it from even the pool reporter at that time. Again, it's this, the cover-up is often what gets the Clintons, and it has forever, since Arkansas.
And that plays into both sides of that narrative that the opposition is putting down, right? The one that she's just not healthy enough to be president, and the other that she's too secretive to be president. So it plays into both.
It works for her opposition either way.
That's right.
But is this a Clinton thing? Is this her staff? The pattern is of Clinton. But, I mean, you just wonder, is the staff going, come on, let's be more transparent? Or is the staff going, no, let's keep everything a secret?
Either way.
Back to emails.
Yeah. Either way, it's bad, right? They need to really think about the optics of these things and be much more cognizant of how the American people are going to interpret your actions when they find out. And look, it always comes out one way or the other, so you have to anticipate that, right?
They've been talking about this cough forever, and they don't get out in front of the cough. I mean, seasonal allergies, it took them forever, and everyone who's had them knows you can cough like that. I certainly do. But then, it's seasonal allergies, and oh, yes, she has pneumonia. Just seems amateur.
Just don't want to have that perception of weakness, afraid that plays out against them, but miscalculated because now the secrecy plays out against them.
Yeah. All right, well, they say they're going to release more medical records, and you wonder, why didn't they tell us today what kind of pneumonia she has?
Right.
Because it matters. There's one that can do damage, and there's one that's going to be gone with antibiotics. There's one that will make you weaker in some cases, in some instances, for a very long time. Will make your lungs function more poorly, but we don't know what she has. You would think if it were good news, they would get out in front of it. You would think, but history says maybe not.
She's been pushing through, so that's a sign that maybe it's not the more serious kind, more of a walking pneumonia.
Yep.
But we don't know, and we won't know until they let us know, and that's something that they need to get out in front of.
It's not as if the campaign trail can't be a grueling place for somebody of any age.
Absolutely, and she's been pushing hard on this one, so is Donald Trump for that matter. But they both, have to keep their eye on the ball and make sure that they don't have self-inflicted wounds in the last 59 days of this campaign.
Sunshine is a disinfectant, and secrecy never works well when you get caught.